What is up, YouTube? This is T1 coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to be talking to you about The Mummy. Now, still October, and I have time for one more review before Halloween, so I'm going to be looking at a film today that has always been one of my personal favorites, but for some reason in recent years it's been widely scoffed at as just another dumb 90s movie. Currently sits at a pretty lukewarm 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, although the audience score is higher. And I was really worried when I went back and watched it, is it not going to be as good as I remember it? Well, I was pleasantly surprised that even after all these years, this movie is still a hell of a fun time at the movies. And that's the biggest positive, is this movie is so much fun. Now, the original Mummy was more of a slow-paced horror movie, so the decision to go for a more traditional action-adventure has been criticized by some, but I think Cyrus from Spill.com said it best when he said, "There's sitting in the park reading a book, and then there's riding a roller coaster. There's nothing wrong with either of these things." And he was talking about Beowulf at the time, but I think it applies perfectly here. The original was sitting in the park reading a book, and this is one well-crafted, badass roller coaster. And yeah, the film is really fast-paced with lots of action, and all the action scenes are so well done. Like even today, they hold up, despite the CGI looking a little dated in parts. And there's some really fun, snappy dialogue too. This is a great screenplay, and I think it deserves more credit. And there's a ton of memorable set pieces. For instance, in one of the most iconic scenes, the mummy himself summons a giant sandstorm to chase a plane across the desert. And even today, that's pretty exhilarating. Now, I also like how the film mixes genres. Now, yes, at its heart, it is a traditional action adventure, but the way they portray the mummy actually does feel very horror-esque. He does some things that are quite disturbing, and he adds a level of scare to this movie. And it also kind of feels like a mixture of Indiana Jones and the Ray Harryhausen Sinbad films. We have a gunslinger protagonist straight out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and lots of paranormal creatures and stuff going on that feels very much at home in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. It's just really cool, and you know what? Sometimes that's all a movie needs to be, is cool. And the characters, while not all that fleshed out, are really likable. These three are just a lot of fun, and even the side characters are really enjoyable to watch. As I said, the dialogue isn't Shakespeare, but it can be really clever at points. This is the reason I still hope Stephen Sommers can make a comeback. He's made a few duds, sure. Van Helsing especially was a piece of shit, but he really was the perfect auteur for this kind of movie. He knows what makes a blockbuster work. The score by Jerry Goldsmith is also perfect for the tone of this film too. It's so triumphant and epic, but with some tracks that are kind of bouncy and fun too. And there's also a few darker scores in there too. Awesome soundtrack. And again, the best thing about this movie is just how delightful it really is. Unless you're like a total stick in the mud, I can't see you not having a great time with this movie. Of course, this isn't perfect. As I said, this isn't the smartest movie ever made, although the screenplay is a lot more tightly written than I would have suspected, and some of the CGI is really dated. There's a particular thing that bothered me, is that there's this really stupid looking effect where Imhotep unhinges his jaw like a snake or something, and it like just stretches out. It looks so stupid, but they do it all the time, and it just is so distracting. And on top of that, I thought the ending was, pretty traditional. I would have liked a little bit more, but we did get a sequel, so at least there's that. All in all, I think The Mummy is very underappreciated and deserves a rewatch. It's not the deepest movie ever made, but it's so fun and it's really enjoyable. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's T1 signing out.